Hello everybody and welcome to this introduction to Sony Vegas Pro 13 for beginners by ObviouslyTech.com and youtube.com/TechyTutorials. Now this video is a quick overview of Sony Vegas, so all of Sony Vegas itself using Sony Vegas Pro 13, which is the newest version released in 2014. Now this video will be quite long since we're going to be looking at the very basics of Sony Vegas from a beginner's perspective. So if you're just looking for the update features from Sony Vegas Pro 12 to Pro 13, or comparing to older versions of Sony Vegas Pro, you can find a link in the description that will accommodate you, because this video is way too long for you and we won't be going into that stuff in too much detail in this video. Also, since this video is so long, if you're a beginner who doesn't need to know everything but wants to know specific little points about Vegas, you can check out the on-screen menu right now or the video description. So you can click the annotations on screen above the titles, which will bring you to a certain segment in the video, which means you can watch the video in segments instead of watching the whole thing, or the times for the segments are also listed in the video description in case you're on mobile or in an app that doesn't allow annotations to work correctly. So let's get started before this video goes on any longer. The last note is, if you have any questions, first of all check that video description. We'll have links to tutorials popping out everywhere in that video description to answer common questions. And if it's not answered there, then fire away in the video comments here or on the website, which is ObviouslyTech.com. Boom, shameless plug. So the first step is to download and install Sony Vegas Pro 13. If you do not have it, you can get a free trial at sonycreativesoftware.com. There's a link to that in the description. Once you have it and have installed it, you should be greeted with a screen similar to mine. So, looking at this is the general view of Sony Vegas that we work with. You're going to see that we have several kind of windows open here. So the furthest right here is our preview, here's our trimmer. This has several windows in a tab format, so project, media, explorer, transitions, video effects, media generators, and then right here is our timeline. Now to clear things up a little bit, I'm going to get rid of the trimmer. So, to get rid of a window, simply click on the little X, okay? Now if you accidentally do that, do not panic, okay? I get a lot of messages of people who panic when they do that. Very simple to rectify. View, okay? Go up to the menu bar, View, Window, and select the window you want to open. So trimmer, boom, back open again, no problems. This little arrow will extend it and collapse the other windows beside it. Click it again, boom, undone. If you want to move the window, see this line of dots, click and drag. The window's going to pop out of Vegas. So you can use it, you can click it around, you can drag it to an external monitor if you're using one. Now to pop it back into Vegas, simply click Control on your keyboard and drag trimmer, and it'll click right back into Vegas, or it should do. There we go. And that's simple. So let's look at the preview over here. Very simple to see. You can click and drag, you see on these borders, to make a window bigger or smaller. So this is our preview. This is where our video project will be previewed. Very self-explanatory. This drop down up here with our preview, and then something in brackets is the quality that is being previewed in. When selecting a quality for preview, you have to take into account that the higher quality you go to, the harder your computer is going to have to work to put that high quality preview together. So if you're using a computer that doesn't have a dedicated graphics card that you can use for rendering, or if it's just kind of a bit slower, you're going to want to stick to the lower quality, so preview auto, preview half. And even though your preview is going to look kind of bad quality, pixely, that does not mean that your output, okay, so your render, your final project is going to look like that. That's just the preview, okay? Next thing is project media. Let's look at this. So project media is basically going to be where all of the media you drag into your project is going to be categorized and organized. You can add tags to your videos, your audio, your pictures. You can say organize by type audio. What that's going to do is it's going to allow you to see all of the audio that you've brought into this project. So if you forgot where you put something, you accidentally deleted it, come into your project media, click, drag it back in, boom, back in your project, and you're done. So project media is just a way to see the media that you're using in your project at the moment. Now let's go to Explorer. Now Explorer in Vegas Pro 13 and Pro 12, I believe, looks very similar to your Windows Explorer, which is great. Very easy to navigate. I think before Pro 12 it was kind of tougher to use, or it wasn't as appealing, but now it looks basically like you're in your Windows Explorer folder, like this. Okay? So I can click and go in here, and I can click and drag media in which makes it easy. You know, it's quick, easy, and it's right in my project right there, and it's integrated into Sony Vegas. The next tab here is transitions. This is just a big collection of preset transitions we'll be looking at later. This is video effects, which is a big collection of video effects presets which we'll be looking at later. And this is media generators, which is a collection of media generators. So media generators are basically solid colors, texts, things that you can click and drag in. So you can have a solid color, you can have patterns. A lot of stuff involving text, so prototype titler, titles and text, legacy text. Then you have noise textures, stuff that you can change around a lot to make, you know, cool stuff. And we might look at this later if we have time, I'm not sure if we will. So what we're going to look at now is importing media into your project. So media means video, audio, images, things that you're going to be using within your project. Click on File and Open, which will open up your Windows Explorer. So you can do that, or you can use Explorer, the window within Vegas, and use that. Or if you're importing from a camcorder, or maybe you're using another editing program such as Adobe Premiere or After Effects Final Cut, or you're importing from your camera, File and Import can accommodate you there. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and open just a random clip that I'm going to be using for this tutorial. A window will pop up that will ask if you want to match the project video settings to your media settings. So what this means is that it's asking you if you want to change your project settings to match that of the media that you're importing. So the video clip in this instance. So for example, if the video clip that I'm trying to bring into my project is 1080 by 720, and my project is 480 by 270, or whatever the resolution is, if I click yes, it's going to change my project settings to match that of the video clip, which was 1080 by 720. So I'm just going to click no in this instance, but it's up to you depending on what you want. Now if you want to view your project settings, simply scroll up to the option here above the preview. Okay, project video properties, and click that. And here you can see and alter the settings for your project. Now, once we have our clip here, once we import that, you'll see that 2 video tracks, or the appropriate video tracks for your media, are created. So in my case, that was 2. So these are tracks, okay? So this is a video track, and this is an audio track, and this is what we call our timeline, okay? And these are our tools down here. So a video track obviously contains video, an audio track obviously contains audio. A video track can also contain images if you bring them into your project. To insert a new video track, simply right click, insert video track. To insert a new audio track, right click, insert a new audio track. To delete, it's as simple as right clicking on the track, deleting, right clicking on the track, deleting. Very simple, same to duplicate, etc, etc. Very simple to use. It's important to note that video tracks operate on a sort of hierarchy basis. So if you have a video track, say this video track here, number 1, above video track number 2, whatever is on number 1 is going to be a higher layer than whatever is on number 2. So for example, if I drag in a media generator of a solid color red onto my track number 1, you can see that we can no longer see what's on track number 2, okay? Because track number 1 has priority, it's the highest layer, it's going to basically take over. So if this was smaller, so if this didn't take up the whole screen, say this was only, you know, a 10 by 10 pixel, or a 10 by 10 rectangle, excuse me, then you would be able to see the rest of this horse clip, okay? With a little 10 by 10 red square here, but it's not. It's a full red rectangle, so it's a full solid color, so it takes up the entire screen. Now if I was to click and drag to swap these video tracks, you can no longer see any of the red square, and you can only see the horses. So you can only see our original video clip. So you have to keep in mind that video tracks operate like this in a hierarchy. Whatever's on the topmost track has the, let's say, highest priority in terms of layers on your video. So that's something to be careful of, but something that you'll get used to very quickly when working with Vegas. So I'll just go ahead and delete this red track here. Okay, so we got rid of that. So let's show you, first of all, how to cut a video track and how to delete a segment. So to cut and split a video track, okay, so let's say splitting. So let's say I want to go to 10 seconds in. Okay, so I'm going to go to 10 seconds here, or 10 seconds in 2 frames. Okay, let's do that. And say I want to split the video here. Okay, so I don't like a little segment in the middle. I click here, okay, or I maneuver with my arrow keys, and I press S on my keyboard. You can see that that splits up the original video into two different segments, which I can now click and drag separately along the timeline. See, now I can move to the part where I want the video to pick back up. So let's say here. So I'm going to cut out this little middle clip with those seals. So I don't like them. Everyone loves seals. I like it. I like seals. So yeah, we want to cut that out. So move here. Again, press S on your keyboard. Click back on this clip. So we now have 3 separate clips. Okay? Now I don't want this middle clip. That's why I separated the clips. So I can click delete on my keyboard, or right click and delete. Now it's gone. Now I can click and drag this back and it'll snap into place as long as you have snapping enabled, which is down here in Sony Vegas Pro 13. This menu is moved from the top. So you can see snapping is enabled. So that allows you to snap clips on the timeline, which makes it pretty handy when editing, but you can also turn it off if it annoys you or it's not helping your style. So there's how to split and cut a video. Now let's look at transitions. So the most common transition is a fade in and a fade out. It's so common that you can do it without actually moving into your transitions window. If we move to the very start of the clip, and you see up here there's a blue little triangle. If I move my mouse up there, you'll see that the cursor changes and I get a pop-up box with a fade in offset. So if I click and drag, what's going to happen is I'm creating a fade in offset of, now it's 1 second, 10 frames, 15 frames. Let's make it 2 seconds and 10 frames. Okay, there we go. So what's going to happen here is at the very start, this video clip's going to fade in from black, so it's all the way down here. It's completely black, the opacity is 0, and it fades gradually in up until it is full opacity. To adjust the length, simply move your cursor to the end of the fade until your cursor changes to that fade offset symbol. Click and drag it as far as you like to make it quicker or shorter, or quicker or longer, excuse me. And again, it's the same for an offset, or a fade out offset. Cursor will change, click, drag in, boom, there you go. Then as you move to the end, your video will fade out. Okay, that is very simple, and that's the most basic transition in Sony Vegas. Now, let's say we want to add a different transition between these two clips. So these two split clips go from a seal to a bunch of birds or seagulls or whatever they are. So we don't want that to be a fade. We want it to be something different, something cool, something flashy, something like that. So what we do is we go to our transitions window in Sony Vegas. Again, if you don't have it or you can't see it, go to View, Window, and make sure it's enabled. Wherever it is, there you go, Alt and 7. So let's choose a cool transition. Okay, let's see. Let's get a gradient wipe. Okay, so Sony Vegas has some pretty cool built-in transitions. But this heart one, okay, just to make sure everyone knows we're animal lovers, we're going to put in a big heart. So you can see when you hover over, you'll see a quick preview of the transition between clips A and B. A being your original clip, B being your new clip. So what's going to happen is click and drag that transition into the middle of your two clips until you see a plus box and what looks like 2 white boxes behind that, and then just let go of your click. So let go, drop it on there, and your transition will be dropped in there with the preset values. Now a video event effects box will pop up allowing you to change the values of the preset. You can simply X out of that if you're happy with the preset values. So let's move through this original clip here. Now we're going to start seeing the heart somewhere. There we go. My preview is a bit slow there because the computer's recording and everything. So there we go. We can see our transitions there. Our birds popping in a big heart. There we go. There we go. And you can see as we come to the end of the transition, boom, completely transitioned into the other clip using that big nice heart, making sure everyone knows we love animals. To change the duration of that, again, move to the end, you'll see a fade in offset, click and drag to make it however long you want it. Okay? Very simple to use, very simple. If you want to check the properties or the settings of the transition, zoom in on your timeline and you'll be able to see this little button here. Click on that and your video event effects button will pop up. Change your options here, or if you want to remove it, up here, select the remove selected plugin button, because the transition is technically classified as a video event effects plugin per se. So if you click that, that'll remove the transition. However, there will be a fade left in just to cover your video transition, but you can remove that if you want or replace it with a different preset. So since we kind of touched on it there, let's look at video FX. So if you click into this window, you'll see a big list of presets. Some pretty cool stuff here, including, you can adjust your colors with color correctors, chroma keyers. We got blurs, okay, so we have linear blur, Gaussian blur, different random effects like light rays, so that's just rays, mirror, newsprint. So a lot of things here to adjust your video. For this, I'm just going to put on a black and white, okay, very standard, easy to explain, and quick to do. So you can see when you click on an effect here, it has presets. So default is 100% black and white. Then you can also choose 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%, which I'm pretty sure is the default. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with the default and click, and again, just click, drag it onto your clip, drop, and it will automatically put on the preset settings. Again, if you want to adjust them, you just click and drag. Very easy to adjust. Click and drag, and that will adjust your settings. So let's click in here. You'll see that my clip has now turned 100% black and white. Okay, very easy. You just click and drag an effect in, and you're done. Now if I want to change the settings in that effect, you'll see there's a little button down here, Video Event Effects, or just Event Effects, or you can right click and select Video Event Effects, and up the top here you'll be able to see what effects you've actually applied. So if you've applied several, there'll be a big long line here, and you can untick them at the top, which will just disable them, but it will leave them in the menu if you want to come back and re-enable them. If you want to change the settings again, as I said, click and drag or put in values. Usually for other effects there's a lot more options. You can select the different presets from the drop down. So there's 25% black and white. You can see my preview is automatically updated. Now if I want to delete it again, it's going to be treated like a plugin per se. So remove selected plugin, click that, and it's completely removed from my video. That easy to do, that easy to add, and that easy to remove. And it can make a big difference to your video. Now before we get to saving and rendering the project, let's add in a small bit of text. So I'm going to right click on the video track, and I'm going to insert a new video track. Okay, so I'm going to insert a new one which is going to be created at the very top of our timeline. This is where I'm going to insert my text. So I want it to be, let's say, 2 seconds into my video, or around about then. So I'm going to click here, right click, and insert text media. Now our text dialog box is going to pop up, where we're going to have several options, but first of all, let's determine what we're going to say. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to plug in my YouTube URL, because, it's all about self-promotion and selfishness and all of that stuff. But sorry, you can put in whatever you want here. I'm not going to put that in. I'm going to say hello world for any programmers out there. Now what you can do is you can change the size, but be careful, you're going to want to select the whole thing and you select the size. Okay, so you want to highlight all the text, click the drop down, going to make it say 22. Boom, 22 is rolling on 22s. That's pretty sweet. And you can see in our preview here, our text has popped up. So in the recent versions of Vegas, you can actually click and drag the text on your preview to adjust the placement. I think it is from Pro 11 or Pro 12 onwards. Then you can also change the text color to anything you want. You can also do stuff like if you go into advanced, you can change the background if it's not transparent. You can adjust tracking, so if you have several lines, also including the line spacing, you can change that too. You can add a shadow to the text, but I of course always advise you to customize your options here. So make sure you customize it so it looks good and it suits your project. This looks great on mine, I think. Very suitable. And do everything you want. Also, just make sure to remember when you're adjusting text that you have to highlight the text to change it. Okay, so you have to have it highlighted. Also, taking into account what I was talking about earlier about the video track hierarchy, you're going to want to make sure that your text is above your video. So all of your video tracks, if you have several, and you have several video clips, you want to make sure that your text is actually on top of all of them so that you can see your text. So again, just a quick example. I'm going to click and drag my text below the original clip. Okay, so click and drag this video track below here. If we look at our preview, the text is gone, okay, because the original clip is overriding it, it's overlapping it. So the text is actually there, but it's behind this clip and you can't see it. So you have to make sure this video track is on the very top, and now you can see your text on top of your video clip. Very easy, just have to remember that. Now let's look at saving your project and rendering your video. So if you're new to Sony Vegas Pro 13, or if you're new to video editing, there's a difference between saving your video and rendering your video. So first of all, let's save our project. So we're going to go to File, Save As, and we're going to save our project in, let's just save it in our sample videos. Choose whatever directory you want to save your project in, okay? So you're saving your whole Sony Vegas project. That includes all your video tracks, all your audio tracks, your transitions, your effects, everything like that. That's what you're saving, okay? So I'm going to call this example video project, if I can type. So you'll see that we're saving it as a .veg file, which is a Sony Vegas Pro project file. So this file cannot be played, it cannot be uploaded, you cannot open it in VLC or QuickTime or anything like that. You can only open it in Sony Vegas to do further editing or altering to your project. So we save that. Now that allows us to come back and edit our project at a different time if we want to. If we want to make changes, if we want to leave now and then come back and do more editing, make sure you save it. So go to File, Save As, and save as a .veg file. Now once we've finished our editing, we need to create a playable video file. So we do that through rendering. Okay, so we have all of these video tracks, transitions, effects. We need to merge them all together with our audio into a video file. So that's what rendering does for us. So we go to File, Render As. Now I always advise to save before rendering, just in case there's any issues. You always want to have your project backed up. So we go to File, Render As. So in the Render As window, you'll notice that we have a big menu here consisting of different formats that we're able to render in. Now some of them you will notice are audio formats, such as MP3, .wav, .aa3. So if you actually are editing sound only in Sony Vegas, you can render out just sound files. However, in this tutorial we're looking at video rendering, so what we're going to do is render as a .wmv file. So first of all, you see the menu is pretty simple. You can have favorites, although we don't have any at the moment because we just installed Sony Vegas Pro 13. You can check if any preset templates match your project settings. So in our case, our project is 1920 by 1080. So we can check if there's any presets, and of course there are a few here actually. There's a .mp4 here. That's an audio. .avi, we have one here. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually create our own very quickly. So if you're picky for some reason and you want a .wmv, you can do that. So I'm going to go to Windows Media Video 11. Now I recommend creating your own template that you can save within Vegas that will have your own settings that will create high quality video without taking up too much space. So if you're interested in learning how to create a 720p or a 1080p template, you can customize for yourself and save within Vegas for future video projects. Again, more links in the description for that. However, now we're just going to customize one very quickly and use it for this example. So there are no 1920 by 1080 templates for .wmv for this project. So if we go into this template here, 5 Mbps HD 720 25p video, we can click on customize template, and in here you can change settings for your audio, your video, bitrate, which you don't have to worry about too much unless you're creating your own custom template, which again, links in the description for that. Index summary is just summary for your own behalf. That's nothing that's going to interfere with the actual rendering. And then project settings. So you can change these to match your project, and you can also save using this floppy disk to create customized template. But I really do highly recommend creating your own custom template, and I think that our videos for 720p and 1080p do a good job of explaining how to do it and give you good settings. So if you're interested, you should check it out. So there you go, you can actually change your settings within this custom setting window. Click OK. Click Browse, find a window to save your project in, give it a name, and click Render. Now also, if you do not know what the render loop region is, or the loop region, make sure that render loop region is unticked. Okay, because the loop region is something you can use in your video to sort of section off a certain section or loop within your video, and if you accidentally apply that and then render that loop region only, you won't be rendering your whole video, or you may actually be rendering more than you want to. So ensure that this is turned off unless you know what it is. And of course, just click render, and then there you go. If you're new to video editing, you have to realize that your computer is going to take time to render this video out. The longer your project is, the more effects your project has, more transitions, more video clips and audio clips, the longer it's going to take to render that clip. If you have a slower computer compared to a faster computer with a graphics card that can be used for dedicated video rendering, your computer is going to take more time to render this project. So I have a list of tips and tricks that I advise people to do when they render. If you want to check that out, again, another link in the description. As I said, that description is full of links for this tutorial. So when you're rendering, I've got tips for beginners on what to do, just to make sure your computer, survives and can also handle rendering, and to get the best time that you can for rendering your projects. Once this has completed, the dialog box within Sony Vegas will inform you that the rendering has completed at 100%, and you will be able to find your file in the folder you selected. So in my case, it was in my sample videos. I'm going to find example video project render.wmv. I can then play that file, share it with friends, or upload it onto YouTube. Now again, I want to stress that we just selected a random template. We didn't really look at any of the settings because this was a general overview. You're going to want to make sure you're choosing the right settings for you, and also choosing a good quality such as 720p, 1080p, while also keeping an eye on the possible sizes for your videos. So again, more links in the description. If you have questions, check out the description first, because there are a lot of common questions that can be asked, so I advise you to check the description. And if there's no answers there, feel free to drop them in the comments here, and hopefully myself or other people in the comments can help you out. Make sure you check out other videos in Sony Vegas Pro 13 for beginners. Again, the description is full of links, and you can also check out the channel at youtube.com/TechyTutorials, or the website at ObviouslyTech.com for all your Sony Vegas needs. And any feedback you have is appreciated. Hope you guys enjoyed it and hope it helped. See you soon. Peace.